Okay, so we're 28.3 miles in, and we're still about 80% battery power. Let's get the GPS watch going again. Okay. Live. Let's head home. Hi. So I've been using a new to me, new app called Komoot to do my route planning. It's pretty cool. I was thinking, wow, I've got all these different trail apps, all these different bike apps that show you maps of trails and let you record your routes and everything. And you can do some like rudimentary planning depending on which one they are. But what I really wanted was to be able to just like ad hoc set a start point, set an end point, add multiple waypoints, and just have it automatically route me across multiple trails, even trails that intersect, and then tell me how far is that? One way, round trip. What's the elevation gain? What's the incline like? How long will it take me to ride at a particular speed? And I was thinking, what you're probably asking for is a unicorn. It probably doesn't exist. Well, it didn't take long, and I found the unicorn, and it's called Komoot. So I planned this trip on Komoot, and very happy with it. Also downloaded the maps for offline use, and I found that was definitely handy out here because I'm on AT&T for cell service, and the AT&T coverage map said, oh sure, there's at least 4G coverage out there, you'll be fine. Well, maybe so, but it's not enough bandwidth to be able to download the current map. While I was on Google Maps, I was just getting that blurred image, and so I pulled up Komoot, and sure enough, there was enough signal for it to know where I was, and it pinned me on the map that I had downloaded. In fact, if you look at what's right in front of me here, this is what we're using. This is Komoot showing me where I'm at when Google Maps won't. In fact, let me go over to Google Maps and get a sense of what it can see. I don't know if you can see on the phone, it says there's 1 bar of 5G, which is obviously BS because there's not enough to download anything in Google Maps. Let's see. But Komoot, I downloaded the map ahead of time, so it's stored on the phone, and it's getting enough signal to know where I'm at and track me. So super happy with that. So today is October 17th, 2002. This is probably going to be one of the last nice weekends before the rain comes in. Hi. So it's weird. When I left my house, it was 44. When I got up here, it was 76 degrees because we're getting all this warm weather. Hi. We're getting this warm air coming through this mountain pass. This is Snoqualmie Pass, and that's I-90 out there on the other side of Lake Keechelus. Boy, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know. Keechelus? Keechelus? I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I got up here I got to the trailhead for the John Wayne Pioneer Trail, which then connects to the Iron Horse Trail, which is what this is. Got there about 9 a.m. and it was 76 degrees. Temperature had risen 30 degrees just in about an 18-mile drive from where I live. And it's because all this warm air is getting sucked from central Washington, which is a lot warmer and drier than western Washington. It's getting sucked over the pass. And so any place where I got into shade or an area that was shielded from the wind, I'd feel the temperature drop a good 10 to 15 degrees instantly. But get out here into the sun or in the wind, and you'd have a hard time knowing that it is mid-October, other than the obvious changing of the changing colors of the leaves here. So I think the only thing I don't like about Komoot, and I think it should be easy enough for them to fix it, is that when you're doing your route planning, it's cool. They let you specify what sort of activity you're doing, like road biking, bike touring, gravel riding, and it will adjust the anticipated speed for the route, and therefore the amount of time to complete the route automatically. And you can also specify if you're on an e-bike or not. Thing is, though, is that it seems like they severely underestimate. So they give you, like, you can tell it what fitness level you are. And I know that when I'm on the bike, I tend to average around between 12 and 13 miles an hour. Like right now I'm doing 13.6. And even with e-bike selected for this route, the only way I could even get it up close to that was to set my activity level to pro. Right? I'm not a pro. I've had this bike for 6 weeks. I've got over 600 miles on it, but 7 weeks ago I was a couch potato, right? So at most I might say that I've become athletic, but I'm not a pro. And so when I put it on athletic, it was saying, oh, your average speed will be 9.5 miles an hour. And I thought, okay, well, maybe it's taking into account the elevation, and maybe I'll just trust the app, right? So I planned for basically to get to the point where I just started. I planned on that being 3 hours. Well, even with a whole bunch of stops to take pictures and such, I still made it in about 2.5. So it looks like we're just now at 30 miles. Well, according to the watch, 29.9 according to the display on the bike. So yeah, I guess my complaint there with Komoot is, rather than giving me those preset ratings, like athletic or pro or whatnot, and then assigning an anticipated speed, just give me a continuous slider. Let me pick my speed. Coming up on your left. Right? Because I know my level of fitness, I know my gear, and if I know the route, then I know what my speed's going to be, or should be. So just let me do that. I mean, I guess I appreciate from a beginner perspective that you're helping me out, but I realized once I got out here, even though I generally am a beginner, I knew better than Komoot what to expect. So yeah, so I think on athletic it was estimating 9.5 miles an hour for the entire route, and my moving time has been in excess of 13 miles an hour. So that explains why I got to the turnaround place where I had my lunch a lot sooner than expected. Let's see. Isn't that weird? You don't pay attention. I took my eyes off the trail momentarily just to mess with my phone, and I immediately start drifting into the center gravel. Yeah, your eyes will, the bike will go where your eyes go, basically. So this is the Biktrix Juggernaut Hub Duo. It's a 750 watt rear hub drive, which most people will tell you is not great for hills. Well, the first 22 miles of this route was all uphill, and the bike did just fine. Like I said, I was averaging like 13.5 miles an hour coming up that hill. And let's see, right now we've got 30.5 miles since our last charge, and the bike is telling us we've got 76% power left. So do the math on that. That's better than 1 mile per percentage of battery. So that means that with the way I ride this thing, which is almost exclusively in pass 1 and typically 4th gear like I am right now, it's kind of my go-to gear. Potential avalanche and rock slide area, woohoo! That I can expect more than 100 miles out of a single charge, which is pretty cool. So I think Biktrix says you can expect about 90 miles for a single charge. Keep in mind this is dual batteries. I've got dual 17.5 amp hour batteries, so I've got 35 amp hours, 52 watts on board. Beautiful day. There's some wildfires in the area, and we've been getting a lot of smoke lately. And there was I was looking at the smoke forecast, and you know, it's always hard to predict with the winds, but I was saying that by this time this area would start getting covered in smoke. But it actually looks clearer than when I rode out. So I basically kept the cameras in the saddlebags for the entire ride out, just to conserve battery. And I figured, well, it's an out and back. I'm riding the whole thing. You know, I'm gonna be on the same route twice, so I might as well just record only on the way back. I see some parasailers. I think that's what it's called, parasailing out on the lake. It's pretty cool. I'm not sure if that's going to come through on the video. And it looks like we've got a couple of horse riders up in front of us. And someone coming this way with a dog. So we're probably all going to meet at the same time. That's the way that stuff always works. Lucky duck. Oh. Ourselves a traffic jam. Yeah. Hi there. All this trail, we all meet at the same place, right? Always works out that way. Sure. Yeah. It's much clearer than I was expecting. In fact, on the way to the trailhead, I actually saw this huge plume of smoke from one of the wildfires rising off in the east. A little ominous looking for sure. 44 degrees when I left my house this morning, and I think out here it's supposed to get up into the low 80s this afternoon, which is just nuts. We don't normally see those kinds of temperature swings, but it's because of all that warm air from central Washington getting pulled over the pass. So we've got I think the rain is supposed to start Thursday or Friday this week, and basically when it does, I don't think we're gonna see sunshine again until, I don't know, May or June. That's kind of the way it goes around here. So, and the tunnel, so there's a 2.7 mile train tunnel. So this is they call this the Iron Horse Trail because, you know, it used to be a railroad, and we're going through a mountain pass. Now the freeway makes a big loop, like a big U-shaped turn around the mountain, but for the railroad they just said screw it, we're going straight through. So they bored 2.7 miles straight through that granite hill, that granite mountain. Can't imagine what that effort must have looked like or how long that must have taken. Now though, it's open to hikers and bikers. You definitely need to have a bright light, so I've got the Armageddon Headlight on this bike. It's a 2,000 lumen headlight. It's a 2,000 lumen headlight that Biktrix sells as an option. And on the way through the tunnel to get here, wow, did I appreciate it. It's basically this huge floodlight that illuminates the tunnel left to right, top to bottom. And just to see what it was like without it, I actually brought a small headlamp that I've used for running, and I had that on my helmet. And so I briefly turned off the Armageddon light in the tunnel, and even with the headlamp on my helmet, it was crazy how dark it was in there. So this is it's really nice. We got every, I don't know, I think it's like about every 10 miles or so, there's or maybe less than that, I'd have to check, but there's toilets that you can use while you're on the trail, so that's definitely nice. Yeah, this trail is actually part of the larger Cascades to Palouse trail in Washington State, and so the trail itself, just this narrow strip of the trail, is a state park, and so that's why it's so well maintained. And there's things like the vault toilets. And even though there are signs that say no motorized vehicles, those were put up at a time before e-bikes existed, and so I went and double checked, and sure enough, Washington State Parks very clearly states that so long as your e-bike meets the federal guidelines of Class 1, Class 2, or Class 3, then you can take it anywhere that a bike is allowed. And so bikes are obviously allowed on this trail too, so no problem. Here I am. Zoom, give us a little throttle boost, and away we go. All right, we're at 34 miles and 75% battery. So we've used 25% battery to go 34 miles. That's pretty awesome. That's a little bit less than 1.5 miles per percent. Ooh, feels getting chilly already. My goodness. Hi. Stick that out a little bit more. Okay. Here we go. Let's turn on the light. There we go. Looks like there's some people coming toward us. That's crazy. Light does a very good job flooding the tunnel with light in front of us. It's the Armageddon light from Biktrix, 2000 lumen, and it just wires right into your bike's battery. Some wet spots there. Hi. I think that's the exact same family that I rode past through the tunnel on the way out here. What a coincidence. Ooh, it's chilly in here. So I see a light. I'm not sure if that's the... Oh, I'm getting dripped on. I'm not sure if that's the... No, I think that is someone coming toward us. I was thinking, is that the end of the tunnel? No, it's not. That is somebody coming toward us. So they closed this tunnel for the season on November 1st. And I can't remember when it reopens. I think late April, maybe in May sometime. Basically just because it's a hazard because of all the snow that, you know, this is a ski area out here, right? And they don't want people getting trapped in the snow or caught in an avalanche or whatnot, so they just close the tunnel. So this is probably my last opportunity to ride through this tunnel until sometime late next spring. So easily 6 or 7 months from now. Okay, so I see someone coming toward us, and I think I see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's crazy how tiny it looks when you look at how tall the ceiling is here. Hi. Yep. I see someone else coming toward us as well. So I've run through this tunnel once before. I did basically a half marathon that started back there in the parking lot kayak, and came through this tunnel. But, I haven't been able to run in a couple of years because of a leg injury. Hi. Hey. Alright, I don't think there's anyone else up in front of us. That tiny little speck of light that you see, that is the entrance at the distant end. And it's just as tall there as it is here. I'm gonna, if I had to guess, I would say the peak height in here is probably something like 25 feet. Maybe 30. It's kind of hard to tell. That's how big that opening is down there. but yet it looks like this tiny little speck of light. Oh, and riding through some of the wet areas in here and the puddles makes me extremely thankful that I've got the fenders on this bike. You know, at first I was thinking, particularly when I was trying to find a bike rack for it, like to fit onto the trailer hitch of the car, the fenders, I was questioning whether or not the fenders were a good idea, because all the bike racks that I wanted really didn't work with bikes that have fenders. I ended up getting the Hollywood Destination E bike rack, which works great. I would say though that it's a little less elegant than say something like a Komoot, but you know, it works. It works with e-bikes specifically, and it works with bikes that have that are step through, that don't have the upper crossbar, and it works with bikes with fenders. So I mean, it'll work with anything. So I'm extremely happy with it, and I believe they had a really good discount for first responders and active veterans, active duty military and veterans. I want to say it was something like 20%. I mean, it was significant. Right? I want to say I saved something like $140 by buying it from their website and using that veteran discount. So kudos to Hollywood for really supporting the first responder, military, and veteran community. Really, really appreciated that. And it's a great product, right? Super happy with it. And super happy that I got fenders on this bike, because riding through all those puddles, I don't feel a single splash anywhere on me. And I love that. Because right now I'm just wearing shorts. So if there were a lot of splashes, I would definitely feel it. The fenders are containing all of that, so that's awesome. I'm glad I got the fenders. Alright. Oh, I think I see someone coming toward us. Maybe someone who just recently entered the tunnel. So I believe there were actually two tunnels. I think there's one directly to our right, which I think they just filled in. Like when they converted this into a trail, I think they just filled that in. Maybe not like the whole thing, like just put concrete over the entrances and just left this one for foot traffic and bike traffic. Because when you look at this thing from the outside, you see two arches, but yet only one of them has a tunnel. Oh yeah, maintained 14 miles an hour through here. That's pretty cool. Oh, these might be walkers. Yep. Hi. Oops, more hikers. Hi. Alright. Light at the end of the tunnel is getting bigger. Hey, I can't tell if my light is so bright that it's like annoying other people or not. No one said anything. I've also seen a few people like squinting and looking away when I pass them. Alrighty. Almost there. 2.7 mile tunnel. Cut through a granite mountain back in, who knows when, I think maybe early 1900s, like 1910, something like that. I don't know, there might be a sign out here we can take a look. so much warmer out here. Thanks, you too. I'm sure I'll see you out there. So 55 miles and only used 26% battery power. Not bad. It's not bad. Watch says 53.